All right, coming in live from the Milt Ford Tough Studio Wednesday morning in New York City. It is the Boomer and Geo program on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. 877-337-6666. The number to get in all morning long. G is off. He will be back on Monday after his much-needed and well-earned vacation. So I sit in with the Booms until 10 o'clock. And I will tell you this as we get started on this Wednesday morning. Jets are winning the Super Bowl, folks. I will tell you now, I watched one Jets drive a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
I watched Hard Knocks, not last night, but this morning. The Jets are winning the damn Super Bowl. Good morning, Boomer Esiason. How are you?
Good morning, Jerry. And I can understand why you feel that way after watching Hard Knocks last night. I mean, you could see the incredible impact that Aaron Rodgers has had on everybody. I mean,
No doubt.
It was the Aaron Rodgers highlight film last night, and rightfully so. That's exactly what HBO should have done because that's all we've been talking about for the last 6 months and the impact that he was going to have on this franchise. And there's a lot to talk about in what came out in last night's episode. One thing I always say, and I say this every year after the opening of Hard Knocks, that's when you retire, that's what you miss. You miss the camaraderie, you miss the hijinks, you miss the fun, you miss, all the ball breaking, all that kind of crap that goes on. And, it's a very unique kind of like environment. And if you're lucky enough, as Aaron Rodgers has been, to do it, I think, 19 years?
Yeah.
I did it 14 years. And it's fun when you're actually the older player impacting younger players. And I remember my final year, I was able to play the last 5 games of that season, and we had a really good, solid young team. They just needed direction, that's all. And I was able to afford that, and everybody's, started to play better, started to get more confidence. And the next thing you know, we're averaging like 33 points a game, and it was ridiculous. And I think I see a lot of that in what's going on with Aaron Rodgers right now. So what happened with him in Green Bay is going to be really interesting because he obviously got bored, got tired of it. It was mundane. I'm sure it was the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. And he just needed to change a venue. And what I see now is a guy that is really motivated, actually very funny, and you can see how smart he is. He knows everything that's going on around him, obviously. Who knew that Liv Shriver was a football player, supposedly.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that, but he had some pretty good lines last night as the voice of God, as Aaron Rodgers described
As he
him.
comes in on the Blade helicopter.
Yeah, but it was great because that's exactly what the producers wanted. They want a little drama to it. They wanted to make it a little bit more dramatic, as Liv Shriver said. So I thought it was a really great opening night. Just if you're a Jet fan, you had to love it. You had to just love seeing Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson go at it at practice.
Yeah.
Listening to those guys. Love Garrett Wilson's choice of vehicle. He drives a Ford Bronco. That's my man. He's got some pretty good taste. But it was everything
good.
I thought it was going to be. And Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, how many F-bombs can you drop in one session?
He was, to me, and I thought one Jets drive was phenomenal. I said yesterday, I don't know how Hard Knocks could be any better, and I actually even wavered on watching it, to be quite honest with you, because I'm like, what else could they show us? And there was a lot of crossover. I mean, there was 100% there was crossover with the footage. One Jets drive had stuff in it that Hard Knocks didn't, because they had footage going back to OTAs, which I thought was really cool and a good inside look at Rodgers the first few times with his new team. But Hard Knocks had some different stuff as well. And the one thing that stood out to me, and I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down, was Ulbrich. I thought he stood out in this episode. There were 2 things coach-wise that stood out to me. And not talking about Saleh. We'll get to him in a minute. I thought Ulbrich, his intensity, his passion, the way he talks to guys, the way he's coaching nonstop, there were certain guys you could tell, players, coaches, that were kind of hamming it up for the camera. This dude just looks focused, and he looks like a football coach, and the guys seemed to respond to him. Good unit, we know that. The other one was, I came away from, and it's one episode, and I get that. I came away from the one episode with Nathaniel Hackett, watching him, thinking, how the hell was that such a mess in Denver? Because he looks like a football coach. He acts like a football coach. Everything he was saying in the one episode, I'm thinking they're watching, you'd run through a brick wall for this guy.
Well, I kind of I see it a little bit differently. Some guys are not cut out to be a head coach. Some guys.
But why?
Well, just because of their personality and because of their expertise. Some guys, Nathaniel Hackett's an offensive coach, and he has a unique and obviously a very unique relationship with Aaron Rodgers, and they're very close. And I know why now. I know why Denver. It confirmed everything that all of us had believed as to why Denver hired him as head coach, was to acquire Aaron Rodgers in a trade. And then Aaron Rodgers last year, if you remember, before the season, in the offseason, decided, you know what, I'm just going to stay in Green Bay because they're going to pay me more money, and made Green Bay ante up more money. So he stayed with a couple guys like Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard and Brian Balaga and a couple of those guys that were there. He felt like he wanted to stay with them, and he forced Green Bay into giving him a new contract, kind of leaving Denver and Nathaniel Hackett out in the cold. And all I can tell you is that relationship and the whole thing with gold member and all that weird stuff, yes. that's not head coaching stuff. I'm just that's
but why?
That's coordinator stuff. That is personal relationship stuff, and he and his quarterback certainly have that, which is really gonna make Aaron Rodgers great this year because as I've been telling you, he does not have to learn a new system. And you could see that he's coaching the system out on the field, especially with Zach Wilson, by the way.
He looks like a coach.
Right. And I tell you, Zach Wilson ain't ready yet either. There's still a lot of delay in Zach's processing of what's going on. But, in his defense, I would just say it's because he's learning yet another system, another way to work it out. And he's watching Aaron intently, which is good. And one thing I did like about what Aaron Rodgers did, there was a point where, it was towards the end of Hard Knocks last night, where they were meeting, the quarterbacks were meeting on the field, and Aaron's supposed to give some sort of talk to the quarterbacks and say something that's going to enlighten them or something. And he basically says, let's get to know our teammates, get out there, get to know who they are, and make relationships, that kind of thing. And I don't think that Zach Wilson really knew how to do that the first 2 years. So you can see right then and there, this is what a alpha male quarterback does when he gets into the locker room and gets into those small little meetings where he can have a profound impact. So far, so good. I just hope this thing doesn't go sideways with an injury or anything like that, because Aaron can still play. You could see that.
The one thing you talk about, the injury, that to me is the only way that it goes sideways from the standpoint of the connectedness that they continue to talk about becoming not only teammates but friends, and making sure they stay in touch off the field and stay locked in, like all of that. And I'm sure and you would know better than anybody, obviously, but I'm sure a lot of that stuff happens in all these locker rooms. But there seems to me, just watching these first two things that I've seen, the OTAs, the Rodgers effect, there is a feeling around this team to where, I'm going to be honest with you, even during the Rex years, when I thought they were really good and I thought they had a chance, this is the first time I feel about the Jets that I have felt about them from that ill-fated, was it 99, the Vinny injury?
Yeah, when he got hurt.
Like, I remember going into that season thinking the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl
this
year.
They lost to Denver in the AFC Championship game the year before. They were coming back, and Vinny was
supposed to be
really
their
locked
year.
in. Yeah, and unfortunately what happened with Vinny was an Achilles.
Yes, there was ruptured Achilles, I think
it
was, in week one. Barring that, like, that's the feeling I have of this team, because I look at the defense is going to be, I think, going to be better, quite frankly. And I think with Rodgers offensively now, tell me what they can't do. And then maybe we can discuss why I don't think they're a legit Super Bowl contender, because what I see is a complete football team.
Okay, what I want to see now in the next we got Aaron Rodgers. We understand the impact. We see all that. What I want to see in the next Hard Knocks, if they're listening, I want to see offensive line stuff. I want to hear about that. I want to see him interacting with his offensive lineman. I want to see Mekhi Becton. Mm-hmm. I want to see what's going on with him. They showed him a little bit, but they didn't really talk about him. This was all about Aaron Rodgers. This was all about him coming to New York, loving New York, being motivated to be here, and really connected with his offensive coordinator. And the other thing, too, was it's amazing how many players are just sitting in awe watching him.
Yeah.
And, okay, enough of that. Now we just got to get over that. We all know, and you heard Jeff Ulbrich tell his defense, guys, look at 8. You see 8? We got a guy. We can win.
Well,
now we got to go out and do our job.
That was when he was showing the video footage, the film of the play he makes to beat the defense at the end of practice, and then he's showing on the film like everything is covered. You guys did a great job. There's like one guy that's going to make this ridiculous throw, and he's on our team.
Well, I would say that Patrick Mahomes would make that throw.
I understand.
Joe Burrow would make that throw. Justin Herbert would make that throw.
About how
Trevor
good
Lawrence would make that throw. I'm just
right.
telling you, there are a lot of great quarterbacks in the AFC. This is why they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they in order to compete in in this conference this year, you need a player of this caliber. There's no question about it.
Did you like? And it was quick. It was really quick. But did you pick up, or did you like when you had? I think it was in the first 5-10 minutes when they're on the practice field and Rodgers is making throw after throw, and Salah's got a grin on his face from ear to ear, and he goes over to Joe Douglas. Yeah. He's like, "Boy, this guy's really something."
You know, I got to tell you something. Joe Douglas said more at our Boomer and Geo live event than he had than anywhere else. Like, he disappeared after that.
That is,
well,
he's a GM.
Joe Douglas.
Well, he's a GM. I mean,
but he's the guy that had to swing the trade, had to convince everybody that this was going to work.
We're going to hear from. Here's when we'll hear from Joe Douglas again. You might hear from him when camp breaks and then mid-season. You don't hear from.
I do love that about Joe.
Jerry
There's
Jones.
no question. I do love that about Joe Douglas. He lets everybody do their thing.
Yeah.
He does his thing when it's time to do his thing. He goes out there and he talks. Hopefully he'll talk with us next week. That's what I'm hoping. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's got to be sitting there looking at this, knowing that he's got a Hall of Fame quarterback and how the team just reacts to it.
And I can't get over how excited he seems to be about being here. Like again, I'm going to go back to when Favre came here, and a lot of the players watching last night and then the one Jets drive the other night, it brought back a lot of memories to me when I was covering the Jets and Favre came here. I'll never forget Jericho Cotchery was like, man, he is different. And a lot of the reaction was the way the ball comes out of his hand, like, holy crap, we got Brett Favre here. And a lot of those thoughts came back to me watching this. That having been said, watching last night and seeing Favre never had this is awesome. I love it here. New York has been unbelievable. This team, this facility. And I know that was Hofstra at the time right before they went to Florham Park. It almost seemed like, yes, I'm here. Let's go win some games. We'll see what happens. This is different.
Well, you know why? Because he's more of a unique person. Brett was like a lunch pail guy, blue collar, Southern guy. Let's go get some beers and hot dogs, and let me take a shot of my Winky and send it out. You know what I mean? What's his thing? Aaron Rodgers is not doing that. You know
Where's
what I mean?
Eddie?
Right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Aaron Rodgers is too refined for that. That's how I would define Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but
he's refined.
Refined, yes, but more into it.
But very smart.
Yeah,
very smart.
And you can see what a deep thinker he is. He got into the whole thing. Maybe it was with the quarterbacks. I don't remember. But at the one time, he's like, let's enjoy this. It's going to be gone very quickly.
Yeah.
Time flies by.
It does.
Very deep thinking there, Boomer.
Yes.
Very deep thinking. And then the other one, you talk about the age difference. And obviously, when you got a bunch of 20-somethings and then he's approaching 40 or is 40, whatever, there was the one scene with, I wrote it down. Who was this? I took the quote. It was Al Woods and Solomon Thomas as they're watching him.
Yes.
And I actually wrote this down. I don't remember which one said which, but the one guy goes, man, 8 is special. And the other guy goes, 8 is cool as F.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. Yeah, I mean, and you can see he's doing his thing with Sauce Gardner, with the smoking, the weed and all that other crap. Yeah, so he's all bought in, and he has to be. And he has to prove to his teammates that he's one of them, even though he's, stature-wise above everybody.
Sure.
But he has to be one of them, and he's got to be a cool dude, and he's got to sign some autographs for his teams. For his team, so they can give it away for, Christmas presents, birthday presents, things like that. He's got to, and he'll be, all that stuff is going to be going on behind the scenes. We won't see it, but it is. Let
me ask you this:
there's no question that that the effect is obvious to everybody, including the fans that showed up and watched the practices.
Well, they were chanting JETS and Aaron Rodgers day one, which was very cool.
Man, I just hope they don't get disappointed.
Well, you know what? It's nice to have expectations like this. If they get disappointed, that will suck. But at the end of the day, the Jet fan goes into 2023 thinking, why the hell not us? It's a hard as hell conference. I get it. But to me, if I'm one of those other teams and I see the Jets on my schedule, I'm concerned about that game.
Well, the other thing, too, is their opening 4-game schedule is ridiculous.
Yeah, but you know what? For the 4 opponents, it's not easy playing them.
That's exactly right. So, if they got out of there 3-1, it would be amazing. It would be amazing.
They should fly through the season.
They could get out of that 3-1, which would, to me, they want to be 4-0, of course. I'm just trying to look at it from a practical standpoint.
Win the quarter.
3-1, 4-2-2. I would take that. I mean, Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Chiefs. Whew.
Yeah, well, you got 3 of them at home. I mean, that's the one good thing. And you're going to tell me that they can't go in and beat Dallas?
I kind of can't wait for Week 5 at the Broncos. And that was brought up yesterday,
Yes,
too.
it was.
And, and Aaron, obviously stuck up for Nathaniel Hackett like he should, and Nathaniel said the right things. I think Rob Saleh said the right things. We all saw those things when they were said, so it wasn't anything that was shocking to us. But again, like I go back to Nathaniel Hackett. He's an offensive coordinator, and he's got a very special bond with a great football player who's going to make his job a hell of a lot easier. And hopefully when he does decide to retire, that he leaves something in his wake that is Zach Wilson, that resembles something that could actually play quarterback in the NFL.
One other question on Hackett, because this, again, I watched it and I saw a very, on the field, I thought a very authoritative voice. I thought it was someone that was focused. What happens when they go up to the podium and they sound like a bumbling fool? As
nervous.
opposed
it's just
to
nervous.
no,
That's
come
all.
on, opening
It's
press
nerves.
conference. I get the first few
Jerry,
times.
it's just nerves.
Every time.
Well, look what happened with Nick Sirianni. I mean, remember his first opening
Yes,
press
no.
conference, and he takes his team all the way to the Super Bowl.
But what happened? He got better and better. Nathaniel Hackett last
Well,
year.
they were losing, and he was dealing. The other thing too. So here's Nathaniel Hackett. I'm being hired as the Denver head coach. And I'm going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, the most important person in the building, and Aaron Rodgers is going to set the path for everybody, as we have seen.
For sure.
Instead, he gets Russell Wilson, who comes in with all these demands, with this big contract extension and his own office in the building. And, you've heard Sean Payton talking about it. And whether or not you believe Sean was right or wrong, I know exactly what Sean was talking about. He's talking about, the level of dedication wasn't there, and the level, structure, discipline, all of that stuff that is required to be good wasn't there. And I go back to when Bill Parcells took over the Jets after Richie Kotite. Richie assembled a pretty good team his second year here, but they only won 1 game. And they won 1 game because I believe the discipline wasn't there. And Parcells sprinkled a little discipline, added a few of his guys, traded for Kevin Mawai. And the next thing you know, because Bill Parcells' personality is so big and so strong, like Rex Ryan when he came in, like Aaron Rodgers when he's here, people react to it. And they know that their career is going to be shortened if they don't do what the big man tells them to do. And that's kind of the effect of, what I think is happening, with a guy like Aaron Rodgers and with a coach with a personality that, hopefully demands respect. I don't necessarily know that Nathaniel Hackett had that in Denver.
I guess not. Well, we have a lot more to do on this subject. We've
I
got
know he
the
didn't
Jets.
have it. How about that? I know he didn't have it.
Jets football 2023. How about that? All right, it's Boomer and Gio on a Wednesday morning, 6:18. We'll get CeeLo in here coming up next, 877-337-6666. CeeLo, we're going to get to a whole bunch of odd stories, too, and a couple that really weren't covered all that well. We'll explain as the morning goes on. It is the Boomer and Gio program on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.